Growing up as a little kid, I was always obsessed with watching the Looney Tunes every Saturday morning, or if it wasn't on Saturdays only and it was on the weekdays, I would always try my best to catch up on every single episode of the Looney Tunes because as a little kid, I was always watching TV, I was always watching cartoons. Obviously, it would be a no-brainer to stumble upon the world of Looney Tunes every time I saw the characters like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Porky Pig, Elmer Fudd, Yosemite Sam, Foghorn Leghorn, Tweety, Sylvester, Speedy Gonzales, Marvin the Martian, heck, even Hector the Bulldog. All of these characters were so funny in my honest opinion, and the GOAT in my honest opinion was Tasmanian Devil. But obviously, as I was growing up, I started to not watch the Looney Tunes as much because, you know, when you're growing up, when you're reaching your preteens and your teens and your adulthood,
Stop hitting your chest, you're making a radio. You think you tough?
you obviously start to stray away from those cartoons that are geared towards children and adolescent toddlers and young kids. So obviously that is a no-brainer. But even though I was growing up, I still knew at heart that Looney Tunes is peak animated fiction. I still knew that the Looney Tunes is one of the best animated shows that was created for children. And now that I am a full-grown adult, I was actually surfing the web trying to find a good movie to watch that can make me laugh and can fill me with joy. And I was actually shocked seeing that there is a Looney Tunes movie that just dropped this week, and this Looney Tunes movie is called The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, and it is starring Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. And I saw that and I was like, let me see if I can catch this movie. Let me see if this movie has the same charm, the same jokes, the same comedy, the same great animation that the peak classic Looney Tunes animated show had when I was a kid growing up. And I just got out of the theater watching this movie. I'll be completely honest with you, they did not miss a step. They did not miss a beat. I'll be so dead ass. This movie is so funny, and the animation, I'm not even gonna lie to you, the animation is 10 out of 10 in my honest opinion. This movie's animation is so good that every time you're seeing a scene, it's as if you're off of acid in my honest opinion. And I'm saying that the best way possible because the way the animators drew and illustrated each frame and each scene is so creative. And especially when they are doing their song bits or they are doing this wacky moment, like especially at the end when we see Daffy Duck, he actually saves the world, he saves the entire day. And when he's going full ham, when he's going loony and he just using the hammer, when you watch that scene, the animation, it really pops out in my honest opinion. But enough glazing the animation, I need to start glazing the plot, because the plot surprisingly is a good plot. I was watching the movie and at first I was leaning back, I was sitting down, but towards the end of the movie I was actually fully focused. I was locked in my honest opinion. The plot is really good because it starts off with a scientist. He discovers an asteroid that is heading towards Earth, but then when he now discovers this asteroid, something also simultaneously is happening because there is a UFO that is actually coming alongside the asteroid. And then once this happens, the scientist, he reaches the point of impact, but then the point of impact does something to the scientist that we will later see in the movie. But what this point of impact did is that it actually starts to mind control this scientist. But after this scene, we now see the two main characters of the movie, Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, and they were raised by a farmer named Farmer Jim. And throughout their adolescent life and when they were growing up, you know, Farmer Jim was doing a lot of great things for Porky and Daffy Duck to mold them into the adults we know them. And Farmer Jim, I really like his animation because for the rest of the movie, 99% of the movie has fluid animation, that the animation is so creative, it's so spongy, and every single time something is happening, something else is happening. But with Farmer Jim, I really like that they made him be the main outlier of the movie, by having his animation being so stiff and being so rugged that every time he moves, it looks so off, but it looks so off in a funny way. And the way that I'm explaining it doesn't really make any sense. You have to watch it for yourself. But as this is happening, we see that Porky and Daffy, they grow up, and as they grow up and become adults, we see that Farmer Jim, he leaves them. But I think Farmer Jim actually died, but they actually said it in a way that he left them instead of him dying. But I'm just gonna assume that he died. And when he died, he tells Porky and Daffy Duck two things. The first thing he says is, you need to make sure that this house does not get destroyed. And the second thing he tells them is that you guys need to make sure that you guys never leave each other. You have to always be there for each other. So Daffy and Porky, they implement Father Jim's teachings into their minds, so when they now become independent without Father Jim, something funny happens. Something really funny happens. Porky and Daffy as adults are broke bums. They do not have a job. They have nothing going for them, and we see this seep into their lives, into their personal lives, and especially their house, that Father Jim told them to always make sure that the house is clean and is good. But we see that the house is looking disgusting, is looking rugged, and man, that shit was so funny. They grew up to be top tier bums, and coincidentally this day is the day of the house inspection. So we see Porky and Daffy are scrambling to at least try to make the house look hospitable and trying to make the house look like as if someone can live there without dying. But even though they tried their best, it doesn't work. And the house inspector, as she comes, she sees that this house is not hospitable. Nobody can live in this house because at the ceiling there is a big giant gape in the ceiling. There is a big giant opening that is hazardous. So she tells them that they have 9 days to either make money that can actually be spent on fixing the house, or if that doesn't happen, then the house will be foreclosed and they will lose that house. But then as this happens, Porky and Daffy, they panic, they hyperventilate, they start to tweak out. And as they're tweaking out, we see that Daffy, he notices the green goo at the ceiling, and he says that, this green goo looks so odd, it looks so weird, what is this green goo? But after they were looking at the green goo, they decide to actually get a job for the first time in their lives. So far they have been jobless, and that was so funny seeing Porky and Daffy being bums. They are such broke bums, man. But as they're trying to get a job, they're getting fired from every single job they're hired. Every single job, whether they are a mailman or whether they are just doing any type of common labor, they always get fired because of Daffy Duck. Daffy Duck throughout the movie is known to be a wild card. He's known to be very loony. He's known to be someone that is not going to listen well, and he also is known to just mess up plans. And we see this actually happen when they lose a lot of jobs, and we're seeing that Porky is getting very frustrated. Porky, he's trying to hide his frustration, but he's also trying to be there for Daffy, because remember, they have to be there for each other. That's what Father Jim said. But when Porky is crying at this fast food place, I forgot the name of this fast food place, but Porky is crying. He's saying that we don't have any jobs. What are we gonna do? We're gonna lose the house. But then they now see someone come in the door, and Porky is instantly infatuated with this girl, because this girl is Petunia Pig, a scientist that works for the Goody Gum Factory, and she is trying to find the perfect flavor. And when she actually enters the place, Daffy, he is a W-mans, because he becomes the wingman for Porky, and he actually successfully sets up Petunia, Porky, and Daffy to all sit by each other and discuss who they are and what they are trying to accomplish in life. And once Petunia, she shows that she's a very smart scientist, she actually offers the two a job at the factory, and they instantly accept, because they're broke, they need money, they need a job. And once they land this job, they actually start doing good at at the job. They don't crash out, and Daffy nearly crashed out, but Porky actually helped Daffy to not crash out. And this is actually going good so far. We're seeing that they like the job so far. So once they're done with their shift, we see that both Porky and Daffy do two different things. Porky actually follows Petunia to the lunchrooms to see if he can rizz up Petunia, and Daffy is just doing Daffy things. He's basically doing nothing, but Daffy spots a scientist in this gum factory, and this scientist is doing something so weird. But we actually know that this scientist is that first scientist that we saw in the beginning of the movie. This scientist is brainwashed, and this scientist, he is basically destroying and manipulating the effects of the gum factory, because this scientist is being controlled by an alien invader, and the alien invader doesn't have a name. He just called the invader, but the invader, he wants to take over the world by using the gum in the factory and having this gum spread globally. Once it spreads globally, he can successfully control everyone's minds. But the way that he wants to do this is this goody gum factory, they are selling this new mint condition bubble gum, and Petunia, she does not like this bubble gum. She does not like the gums that this factory produces, because Petunia, she believes that she can find something that will taste better than anything this factory can offer. But as this is going on, we're seeing that Daffy, he investigates what's happening, and Daffy, he becomes paranoid. And one thing we see about Daffy in this movie is that Daffy, he is a conspiracy buff. He actually has a lot of conspiracy theories. So once he tells Porky Pig what's happening, Porky does not believe him, and Daffy nearly crashes out in front of everyone. But Porky had to throw Daffy out of the room and out of the building, and he had to tell Daffy, you need to calm down. Go for a walk so you can calm down, because this conspiracy theories need to stop. So Daffy, he listens to Porky. He tries to calm down. He tries to go for a walk, but he's seeing that this new gum that is being sold by this factory, this new gum has reached almost everyone he is seeing. And at first, nothing is really happening, but Daffy starts to see that this gum is transforming people into a hive mind. This gum is turning people into zombies. And Daffy crashes out. Daffy tweaks out. But the thing is, Daffy is right. Daffy is actually not a crazy person this time, even though he's acting crazy. So Daffy, he tries to do the best thing possible in order to prevent the spread of this virus, this alien type virus. So Daffy, he goes to the grand opening for this gum, and he tries to tell people, he tries to tell the entire world, do not eat this gum. But everyone is thinking that he's crazy. And once this happens, we see that this costs Porky Pig a date with Petunia, because once Porky Pig hears that a wild, crazy, naked duck is causing a ruckus at the grand opening for this gum, Porky, he rushes to the location. He tries to get Daffy to stop, but Daffy crashes out completely, and this causes Daffy to get arrested. And once we see Daffy in jail, Porky, he bails Daffy out, and Porky tells Daffy that, look, you've been crashing out too many times, you've been insane too many times, this conspiracy theories need to stop. You cost me my date, you cost me the last money that we had in order to pay for the roof, and you cost us our job. So Daffy, you need to stop crashing out. And you know what, since you're crashing out, I'm gonna test your theory by chewing this gum you're claiming is so evil. So Porky, he's trying to taste the gum, but Daffy, he's trying to prevent Porky from tasting the gum. But then we see, as this is going on, simultaneously Petunia is walking across the street, and they now all bump into each other. And then this causes Daffy to get an idea that, hey Petunia, since you're a taste buff, since you love tasting things, why don't you actually examine this gum to see if I'm crazy or not? So Petunia, she agrees for the offer, because she does not trust the company that she works for. So when they go back to Petunia's home, we see that when they're testing the gum, the invader simultaneously is watching, and he now gets alerted that something is happening with his gum, with his chemicals. So we see that the invader, he actually does something that is crazy. He actually manipulates the gum that they're examining, and this gum turns into a monster. It turns into a creature. And now this confirms Daffy's delusions and Daffy's conspiracy theories. So once this happens, we see that Petunia, Daffy, and Porky, they all work together to nullify this creature, but it's too late. The entire world has already been taken over, and they see outside that, man, everyone has been transformed, everyone has been brainwashed, and now they need to come up with a plan to save the world. But once they come up with a plan, Porky, he is still not unsure about Daffy. He is still thinking that Daffy is gonna crash out again. So Porky becomes a devious dude when he does this. Petunia, she needs eggs. She needs her eggs from her storage, and Porky goes to grab the eggs, but Porky throws away the eggs because he wants Daffy to stay at home and Daffy to be the one to produce the eggs so Petunia and Porky can save the world together. The reason why Porky did this is because he does not want Daffy to crash out and ruin everything like how Daffy has always been doing throughout the entire movie. So this actually works. Daffy stays home, and Daffy is actually producing eggs, and we see Petunia and Porky are actually doing a good job in saving the world so far. But Daffy, when he's home, he is noticing that, damn, they're out there saving the world without me, and I'm just here laying eggs. And Daffy now comes up with a plan to not do what he was told by Porky, and he now actually leaves the home. He goes to where Petunia and Porky are, and Daffy screws up the entire mission because when he left home, he destroyed Petunia's house, and now that he's outside, he destroys Petunia's and Porky's weapons, and this causes Porky to crash out saying, yo, Daffy, what are you doing? You're tweaking again. You're acting loony again. But this is too late because now the invader, he has full control of the humans that he is actually mind warping and controlling. So they all chase Porky, Petunia, and Daffy. They chase them through the rooftops, and Daffy, he actually successfully goes to another rooftop. But when it's time for Porky and Petunia to do so, Porky successfully does that as well, but Petunia, her attempt at going to the other rooftop is prevented by the invader, and the invader, he completely controls Petunia. He makes sure that Petunia is mind controlled because now that big eye is coming from her forehead. So now Petunia is a mindless vessel, and once this happens, we see that Petunia, she grabs Daffy and Porky, and they now go up into the spaceship where the invader is at. And when they go to the spaceship, we see the tensions that have been brewing throughout the entire movie. We see the full tensions that Porky has for Daffy, and all of this now boils over. We see Porky and Daffy start to argue with each other, and Porky now confesses saying that, yep, it was me. I was the one that actually threw away the eggs because I do not want you to keep on ruining the plans, because so far you caused Petunia to get mind controlled, you caused our weapons to get destroyed, now you caused us to be abducted by the invader. And Daffy, he is trying his best to plead his case, but he is trying to blame Porky as well. But to be honest with you, even though Porky was devious, Daffy did actually mess up the entire mission. And once this happens, the invader throws both of them in jail, in his own personal jail. And once this happens, we see Porky and Daffy, they are not liking each other, they hate each other. But this is not what Big Jim wants. This is not what Father Jim wants, man. And once this is happening, simultaneously the invader successfully controls the earth. So now his real plan is that he wants everyone that chewed the bubblegum to spit out the bubblegum and blow a bubble, and this giant bubble will actually be larger than earth, and it will actually become a dome of some sort. But this dome, you would think that the invader wants to destroy the earth, but it's actually not what we think, because once this happens, simultaneously Porky and Daffy, they are still not liking each other, but they see that, damn, the entire world has been invaded. So they now actually temporarily make up with each other, and you know, some Looney Tunes shenanigans when they now cry and it causes them to escape the prison. They not actually flatten the invader while they're doing this, and this causes the control that the invader has for Petunia to go away and for the scientists to go away. So once this happens and everyone is back to normal, we see the invader's real plans. The invader really wanted to have everyone to chew the bubble gum and have them to blow the bubble so that the bubble can create a big dome to prevent the meteor from striking the earth. But now that the bubble gum has popped, now the earth is completely vulnerable to the meteor and the collision is imminent. The collision is like 8 minutes away. So the alien invader, despite him doing unnecessarily weird things and trying to save the earth, he was still trying to save the earth. And when everyone realizes this, the scientists, the alien, Daffy, Petunia, and Porky all work together to save the earth. And the way that they do this is that Petunia, Porky, and Daffy, they have to go to the meteorite and they have to go inside an opening to the meteorite and they have to blow up the meteorite from the inside. And Petunia, she is good with explosions, so she actually creates a device of some sort that can destroy the meteorite from inside. So once they actually go inside the meteorite, we see that Porky, he is actually doing a good character growth, because remember, he did not trust Daffy to do anything. He did not trust Daffy with his life. But remember, the teachings of Father Jim told Porky and Daffy, you have to be with each other no matter what. So Porky, he now trusts Daffy to do what Daffy does best, and that is to act loony, because their initial plan failed. So now their new plan B is to make Daffy act completely crazy. And once Daffy is doing this, he's causing an earthquake or a tremor inside the asteroid, and these glass shards from the asteroid, it now falls down onto the gum they put, and this causes the explosion. So once this happens, we nearly see Porky and Daffy sacrifice themselves, but thankfully they did not sacrifice themselves, because at the end of the movie, when everyone was celebrating and Petunia was mourning their alleged deaths, we see Porky and Daffy come back to Earth and they actually saved the day. They successfully saved the day, and the thing that the invader really wanted from the Earth is not world domination or world conquering. He just wanted some boba tea. And I was like, bro, this nigga is wildin', bro. He did all of this for some boba tea. But the movie ends where we see that now the home inspector that was actually supposed to foreclose the house, she comes and she sees that Daffy and Porky's house has turned into a mansion, because the will that Father Jim gave Porky and Daffy, that will inside the picture frame is actually a will that has home insurance that covers alien invasions. So that was just a funny gag that they did, in my honest opinion. But man, that's how the movie ends, bro. And I ain't even gonna lie, this movie is heat. This movie is straight fire, in my honest opinion. And it's good that this movie is having some good reviews, because on Rotten Tomatoes it has 86% on both the audience and the critic score, and we see that it's doing fairly good in terms of the ratings and reviews, man. I think y'all should check out this movie, man. It's pretty good. But that's the end of the video, man. I'm out. Peace.